Well, here we are again. It's 37 degrees out in Texas, which is cold in Texas. And it's raining, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I've got a plan. And I've made a commitment to myself. And I've got to keep that commitment. And it's uncomfortable, but it ain't the end of the world. It's just a little thing. So here we are. This is the road to redemption. It's never glamorous. It's the hard work. It's the daily work. It's the commitment you made to yourself, right? I've been working out for the better part of 2 years steady, and on and off for my entire life, but for the past 2 years I've been pretty rock solid in my workout. And now, I want to run a mile every day until I up that number, right? And my wife says, "What are you doing going out there? It's 30 degrees," she says. "It's raining." And it's like 37 degrees, actually. 36, somewhere. She says, "It's raining." I said, "I don't care. I've ran through worse. I suffered through worse. I found myself in those moments. And I know who I am. And so I could sit in this house and be warm. Or I could get out here and be a little bit uncomfortable. But at the end of the night, when I'm done here, I'm going to be okay with who I am. I'm going to look in that mirror and go to sleep at night and be like, hey, I know I did what I said I was going to do today. And to me, that's what makes me feel alive, are those moments. So, we're going to walk that warm-up mile, then we're going to run, and then we're going to walk again. And that's all a part of it. But anyways, this is the road to redemption. Let's check it out. Let's do this. Oh, yeah. It was February of 2015. I ran the Groundhog's Day half marathon. And it's funny. Sometimes you do the things that you tell other people to never do. And this is one of those days. It was a winter storm warning. It had every winter condition. Snow, ice, sleet. And I woke up a little bit late and the roads were horrible. This race is right around Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm living in Texas now, in case you haven't picked up on that. But so I run, get in the car with, at the time, my business partner, and he's like 26. I'm in my 40s. So we race off to go to this race, and I decided at the last minute that I didn't want my feet to get cold, so I set my Balegas to the side, my normal marathon socks, and I put on these long winter socks from Michigan. It's funny because I always tell people, don't change anything on race day. don't change a thing. And that's how you'll get through it. You'll have done this so many times. It's a repeatable process. So I made the cardinal mistake. The mistake I told other runners to never make. So I get out there and I'm running a half marathon. And it's like a loop circuit for this race. I'd say about a half mile in, I had a huge blister on my foot because I had the worst possible socks for running. And every step I took after that first half mile was miserable. And at that, I had a bigger beard at the time, or a goatee. I had icicles in it, and I just kept pushing. And each step went like this and went, ow, 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 over and over and over for basically 13.1 miles. And the weather was tragic. And I could have given up. I could have stopped at any point along the circuit. But I didn't have that in me. I didn't have that quit in me at all. Not when it came to endurance sports. I would probably keel over on a track before I quit. Just no sense. And there's benefits to that, and there's the downside to that. As I've gotten older, I'd like to think I've gotten smarter. That now I would know when to quit. But, you know, this coming from the guy that's living in Texas, running in freezing rain at like 37 degrees. So maybe I haven't learned a damn thing, but I hope I have. These are all things I reflect on that road to redemption. Thanks for listening. Y'all be cool.
What is it they say? Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. We find ourselves in moments of physical and emotional challenge. Whether you push yourself through these moments or if you quit, either way, you find out exactly who you are and what you have inside. How you react in those moments defines your character, and your character defines your life. I nursed my hero through the end of his life as I watched my father dying. I slept for an hour or two a day for months on end. It didn't matter what I did or didn't want to do in this life. Things had to be done. My father saved my life as a child. My father was the reason I became a Marine. I could never have lived with myself if I wasn't there for him when he needed me. It was hard. I cried more times than I can count. When my father became delirious and tried to leave the house in the middle of the night with a foot of snow outside in his underwear, I started laying in front of his door. I knew he couldn't lift his feet, and if he was trying to get out, he would have to kick me, which would wake me up. I had a full-time job at the time and a business that was essentially another full-time job. I could never have put my father's life in the hands of someone else, regardless of how hard it was. At one point, I took him to a VA hospice center for a couple of days so I could get some rest. I went and seen him each day and night. The third time I went back, I knew he was close to the end. I looked at the nurse and said, "Get whatever paperwork I need to sign because he's going home with me in the next hour." She said this was against medical directive. I looked at her right in the face and just said, get whatever paperwork I need to sign because he's going home with me in an hour, one way or the other. When she left the room, I put my head upon his chest. I cried. I had promised him he would die at home with me. I told him he was going home. This was pure love. This was heartbreak. What was coming was the greatest loss that I had ever suffered in my life, but I would keep my word to my father that I so dearly loved. These things aren't easy. That was 6 years ago, and it still chokes me up. I was taught from the time I was a kid that men have to do hard things. Men don't complain. When I was lost in my therapist's office and said, sometimes I just don't know what to do with my father, and she said something I'll never forget. When you are lost with what to do with your father, just do the next right thing. And that's what I did. Long before this moment, I had found myself in near-death experiences and physical exertion and endurance sports. I had climbed those mountains many times. I knew what I had inside. I knew who I was, and especially what I was when the odds were against me. This is just one story. This is a road to redemption. This is going to be a long and hard journey, and there are a lot of these type of stories to come, of the mountains that I've climbed and the fire that I've walked through to get where I'm at today. This gives me the confidence to know that when I do get back to that marathon race, that I'm going to run and that I'm going to finish and that I'm going to PR that race, whatever race it